Hi, I'm Millie Murillo.
I'm Ashley Torrent.
And I'm Patsy Kenny.
Welcome to the Blue Butterfly Effect podcast, a gathering place for real conversations and quiet revolutions. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new season, a new episode of the Blue Butterfly Effect podcast. I'm Millie. I'm here with my co-hosts, Ashley and Patsy. We're so excited to be back. We're so excited to reconnect with all of you and have these new conversations. Today, we want to touch on a lot of what we learned over the summer. And I think that that's always a nice way to start a new season. Like, what have we been through? What have we learned? I think that's a big part of the reason why we take breaks in between seasons to see how life wants to speak to us and influence the conversations that we have on here. And I think that a lot of people will relate with some of the themes and the life lessons over the summer. Of course, I'll touch into the astrology. And one of the things that I've been calling the summer in particular, like late Mayish, early September-ish, or even through September of 2025, is a bit of a spiritual boot camp. So we'll get into that. But we want to try something new. So we're really excited about we're all three of us are very intentional about the way that we connect prior to recording any episode. And so what we do is that Ashley so kindly and beautifully guides us through an intuitive reset where we connect soul to soul with one another, but we also ground within ourselves. And so we're going to start doing that at the beginning of our episodes, which Ashley is also going to so graciously guide us through, so that there's a different intention set when you're listening to us, so that your wisdom comes to the forefront of your awareness, and maybe there's something that's much more attuned there for you. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Each time Ash, I have the pleasure of being guided in that way through Ashley. It truly is like this reconnection to the soul. So, really grateful you're open to sharing that on our platform here together, and we invite you to take it away.
Okay. I'm so happy to do this. It's one of my favorite things. So, some of you may have done this with me many times, and for some of you, you may have never done this with me. I will say that I'm never quite sure what it's going to look like or what's going to come through, so it's mysterious to me as I begin. But what I can't deny is that it can regulate the nervous system, it can open our hearts, it can ground us a bit, it can elevate our mood. So I just invite you to begin with me. If you can show up curious with an open heart, and if you can just take a moment to pause, it won't take very long, but I invite you to join us in this moment. Okay. So I always like to begin with the awareness of the breath. It's just so simple to become aware of our breath, but yet sometimes we don't know how to do it, or it feels like it could be hard. So for me, I like to become aware of the inhale and the exhale, whether it's the cool air through my nose or the warm air out, or the rise and fall of my chest as I breathe, whatever feels comfortable to you. Just notice how you're breathing. Notice how your body wants to breathe. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just being with you. And some people like to deepen their inhale and their exhale. Some people like to hold their breath at their inhale for like 4, and then you can exhale. It's really up to you, but we're just going to breathe together for a moment. And as we breathe, our intention is to shift away from the practical world, from the pace of our world, from to-do lists, from the action-oriented, information-seeking world. We're shifting into the space of receiving, of curiosity. And we shift into that divine space. It becomes a slower pace, it becomes a softer space when we shift into the space of soul and intuition. And as we do this, we become aware of our bodies, we become aware of our hearts, and we just gently observe ourselves with curiosity. And then I'd like you to invite the light of your soul to the forefront of your awareness. Now, if you've never done this before, that's okay. Just having the intention of inviting the light of your soul to rise so that it's in your heart space, imagining this light, this divine spark within you, becoming brighter and brighter and filling your heart space with its love. Moving your awareness away from the mind, but into the heart, into your own divinity. And maybe you see a color, maybe you hear a sound, maybe you feel something, maybe you feel nothing. It doesn't matter. It's just your intention that matters. So as you shine this light within your heart space, you then invite your soul's light to expand and fill every corner of your being with its love, so that you begin to become radiant and expansive as if you're your own star. You begin to honor your uniqueness and your individuality, and what a miracle it is that spirit, God, the universe, whatever you call it, chose to express itself as you. What a miracle that is. And so just breathe with this expansiveness for a moment. And then invite that light to travel down through your legs, through your feet, through your toes, and to connect to the earth. Taking a moment to just offer our love and gratitude to Mama Earth. Thank you for being our home. Thank you for supporting our life here. Thank you for your medicine. Thank you for the beauty you surround us with daily. Thank you, thank you. And as we connect to the earth, we honor our humanity. We honor our walk here, this life journey. And we stay rooted into the earth as we invite our light to move up through the center of our body and out the crown of our head. Imagine your light expanding like a tree, the branches going out into the universe. You becoming even more expansive and bright. And as you expand, we just take a moment and honor the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the magic and mystery that lives in the universe. That we are one with everything and everything is one with us. And just take a moment to breathe into the joy of shining from root to crown. Humanity and divinity working together, expanding to support you, to support your life and your journey. It's also a reminder that you are never alone. Taking another breath, just feeling into this expansiveness. And then when you're ready, become aware of your body once again. Become aware of the space you're in. If your eyes are closed, take a moment and open them. Take another breath, and then we'll begin.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah.
Whew. All right. So we are recording today on September 17th, and we are smack in the middle of eclipse season, right? So we are in the week in between eclipses. We had the lunar eclipse in Pisces at the beginning of September, and we're headed towards the solar eclipse in Virgo on September 21st. But this month of September has, I feel, and I think it'll be interesting to see how you gals feel and whoever's listening, how this month, this eclipse season is so much of a culmination of what has been building. I would say the entire year, but particularly what has been building since March and April of 2025, which was the last eclipse season. And there was such that season. Oh my God. It felt a little abrupt and brash and um, lots of breakthroughs that I think at least I remember feeling like pushed into a deeper understanding of the world and life and the connection to it and our power in it. Um, and that activating or triggering a lot of the smaller parts of self that we have created and built throughout our lives through to stay safe, feel safe, right? And so one of the things we have to remember about a year like 2025 is that it is a pivotal year unlike any we've had before. Even 2020. I think 2020 was the beginning of what we're experiencing right now. But there's something about this year that feels very swift, very quick, very unapologetic. Like, oh, you can't use the same reasoning, the same excuses. You can't come back to the same story, whether it's about a relationship, whether it's about yourself. You just can't. And being unable to stay there. So I may have talked about this before in the past, but over the summer, we've experienced shifts in planets, right? Jupiter in Cancer, Uranus in Gemini, Saturn, Neptune in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius. Some of those happened prior, but my point with naming all of these ingressions is that these planets are in brand new signs at the same time in the same year. And that very rarely ever happens for
Wow.
what we call outer planets to ingress into brand new signs all in the same year, creating a new configuration of what we're experiencing in a year like 2025, which is a year of endings.
Mm.
um, I'm not a numerologist, but when you add 2025, you get a nine. And so, and I can talk about this from the perspective of the tarot, is the ending before a new beginning, you know? And I'm sure that there are other, I don't know, philosophies that probably support that. But the summer, like from, yeah, the entire summer of 2025 has been this spiritual boot camp of continuously coming face to face with a lot of shadow, a lot of old narratives, and they've been so aggressive, perhaps. And that aggression maybe even being experienced or felt by people around us. And now in September, it's like, oh, I just can't do that anymore. I can't be in that space anymore. And so, you know, as an astrologer, I can look at the aspects, I can look at the astrology ahead, and I can gauge, okay, I feel that, I can gauge a little bit of what something might feel like. And yet, every time you don't know until you're in it. And I was thinking about how glad I was that we took off the summer
Yeah.
that we took off the summer to kind of move through our own stuff and experience our own things. So I'm trying not to take up too much time, but I'm wondering how this is landing for you ladies and what's coming up. But I'm also trying not to be too vague.
Doing great. Um, yeah, when we originally decided to take the summer break, I was like, oh, I feel like we're just getting started, but I'm open to that. And then when we were in summer break, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad. That was such a good move. It just to your point, I mean, I had a lot more spaciousness in my day-to-day schedule, though I was actively completing client work and really engaged with projects, it didn't feel intense in terms of work. There was a lot more spaciousness to process what was coming through. And I had the great privilege of spending a lot of time on and near the water. And I was grateful for that as well. It felt very supportive to be in water, to be like cleansing after some of the, yeah, severe breakthroughs, breakups. That was what came up when you said breakthrough. I'm like, breakthroughs and breakups, like these distinct shifts of like before and after is was very present for me throughout those summer months.
Yeah. I too had a lot of spaciousness from work. Um, and that I was so grateful because I did think the summer was going to be one of delight and ease. I was like, oh, I'm just going to spend the summer at the ocean and surfing and playing. And it was really intense personally. Tons of shadow work came up. Like my inner child was like, let's have a conversation. I was like, oh, okay, we're going to have a different kind of conversation. So I too was grateful for the spaciousness, and it just felt like, yes, it's time. And what you were speaking to, Millie, about eclipse season, about we can't keep doing things the same. That's what I felt like. We can't keep telling the same narratives about ourselves, self-doubt, lack of self-trust, lack of self-love, the turning on ourselves, all the things. We can't do it anymore, because not only is it just, it's a waste of our time and energy, and it's not why we're here, but it's not also supporting the people we're connected to. It's not supporting the collective energy. It's like time to turn on our lights and be in that light.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like the energy, like you're saying, there's no time to play around. Let's do this.
Yeah. It's been a little unreal to witness and experience how we can't hide.
No.
The mind is really sophisticated at helping us create ways to hide and stay in a pattern and a connection. And, it's really great at that. And there's something about this year that just hasn't allowed it. And it speaks to what's happening collectively. It speaks to the universe saying, like, all right, it's time, no more. Let's go, wake up, right? Um, it's this energy of no more playing. Like, we're not playing anymore. And I think when we look externally at what's happening in the world, we can understand how and why. And we've talked about this before, where the question can be, well, what can I do? How can I show up? How can I be of service? If there's anything that I think the summer, and I think the rest of the year will continue to show us, is you don't understand how much power there is in you living with integrity within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Not understand how that matters to the collective.
Yes.
And again, there's a little bit of vagueness in that, but the reason it may sound that way is that because each experience to each individual is so different, you're the only one who can really understand and put experience to the words that I'm expressing right now. Do you see what I'm saying? I think for me, the summer was a lot of inner child stuff as well. I thought too, like, oh, it's the first summer that I'm not going to have Pluto and Capricorn. Like, that's going to be great. And it was a pretty mellow summer, like, personally, until it wasn't. There's been a lot happening in LA, right? As people may know, a lot of things happening with ice raids that affecting having an impact on me and my family personally, and feeling dysregulated and feeling unsafe, feeling like I love LA so much. I love my home so much. I love where I'm from so much. I love where I live so much. And there's nowhere else I'd rather be right now. And it's like holding your best friend through some of the hardest moments, right?
Yeah.
So that has brought up a lot of things in addition to then like really personal stuff with family and mom and like holding the truth of it all.
Mm.
And there is something about our capacity, I think, to hold the raw truth of anything we might be experiencing that the universe is expanding right now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I really feel that. I really feel that. I know it was a lot of inner excavation, or, and maybe that's not even the right word, because prior to the summer, I would have said I was undergoing a lot of inner excavation. This felt like carrying my inner child home. It was like we meet again, and not in the depths of despair, but like, look at how far you've come. And yeah, there's still some residue of things you've experienced, but now it's at a place that she and I have alchemized to a certain extent. So like the intensity of the shifts wasn't nearly as severe as some of the work I'd been doing, but there was a newfound like appreciation, like coming into the fall. I'm like, oh, we got this. Kind of like when you said walking each other home, like that sense came to the surface. There's a lot of opportunity for that for me personally. And then I had this beautiful contrast of like spending significant time with chosen family and incorporating the chosen family into my family of origin. And with that came just what you named in terms of like holding both the beauty and the pain of like those relationships simultaneously. Like there was, I guess, again, that word alchemy keeps coming up. I did reread The Alchemist over the summer as well, but like that sense of like, oh, I can have both of these experiences. And sometimes on the family scale it feels like really dense, and the chosen family scale feels really light and bright and refreshing. But like, to bring them together, there was just this deep appreciation for all the people in that shared space.
Mm. That's beautiful. That's really lovely. Like the chosen family and the alchemizing. And Millie, I want to say I'm so grateful you brought up what was happening in LA, because I feel like a lot of people can really either relate or have people in LA or are witnessing, terrible things happening every day, all the time. And I do think it would be important, like maybe towards the end of this conversation, to revisit like how we hold each other and ourselves, or maybe right now, but how we hold each other and ourselves through this time of like people suffering. And one thing you said is like the best thing we can do for the collective is how we nurture ourselves, how we come back to our practices, how we care for like our hearts and our light and our humanity and our divinity within it. Um, and I appreciate that these things that are happening, as terrible as they are, they're also opening up conversations, like more honest conversations. I even notice sometimes you and I will talk, and I feel like maybe in other communities with other people, these are not conversations people are allowed to have because I'm white and you're Latina, but we're having these conversations. And I love just that it just feels like, yes, we should be talking about this. Why wouldn't we be talking about this? Like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend, So I just appreciate you bringing that into the conversation. And yeah, so
Yeah, no, I appreciate that I can because you're absolutely right. And um, over the summer too, a, reconnected with mentors that teach ancestral healing,
mm,
also known as curanderismo, and I just felt so called to join that group again, because it is a way that I notice we are reclaiming our healing gifts, as, you know, descendants of indigenous practices, right? And you're right, these are not conversations. I notice that there are just places, or spaces, I should say, that these where these conversations are not being had. And that's really interesting to me because it's everywhere. So thank you for
Yes.
that.
It's
Yeah.
everywhere. And I have to admit it. I guess I understand, but I don't understand why we're not supposed to be having these conversations. Why we're not supposed to be, or why not we haven't been having these conversations. So to me, it's just like, yeah, we should be talking about these things. Like we breathe air, like we should be acknowledging and talking about it. So I love that the three of us have that open dialogue and we can speak to those things.
Let's talk about the placements a little bit, right? Pluto in Aquarius brings power to the people, right?
Mm.
And so we are noticing, and throughout the summer, we had several massive protests happening here in downtown LA, literally right downstairs
Yeah.
from, you know, our building. And it was so beautiful to see, and like really people really coming together and, saying, obviously, this isn't right. We live in a racist country.
Yes.
We live in a racist country. And um, so when we look at Pluto in Aquarius, it is that calling. It is that calling for
Mm.
people to take their power back. But what does that require? That requires that people come together.
Yeah.
When we look at Saturn and Neptune in Aries, those two planets in particular together, moving into the first sign of the zodiac, are the representation of a brand new cycle beginning. And they've done that this year. They've done that in 2025. They're retrograding back into the sign of Pisces for a little bit to tie up some loose ends, as I like to call it. But they're going to reconnect back in Aries, February of 2026. So, and from then they will remain in the sign of Aries, which technically represents, from a mathematical astrological perspective, the beginning of a new era. When we look at Uranus and Gemini, this is the interruption of the way that we have been thinking about safety, about values, about money, about sense of worth, right? And moving into where Uranus left Taurus for a little while, is currently in Gemini and is saying, what else can be true, right? What other options are there in so many ways? What other options are there to how people can just be in a country, right? What other options are there to how we can relate to one another? What's another way of thinking? What's another way of communicating? Jupiter in Cancer, my God, that is homeland.
Mm.
Uh, how has the theme of home and homeland expanded in so many ways? So when we look at the the pushback and the contrast and the violence against this awakening that the collective is having, excuse me, um, we have to question why so much resistance, right? Well, because the air quotes, what does that mean? Understand something. I have to tell you that I think those people use somebody. They either use
Mm.
astrologers or, I don't know, intuitives, psychics, people who do the kind of work that we do, because the way that they push back, the tactics that are being used to manipulate people, to try and like really get people back into that programming, to fear-based thinking, solely fear-based thinking, violence. I'm telling you, this isn't just political propaganda. This is in fact spiritual warfare, which Neptune in Aries represents greatly.
Mm.
And so the I've said this before, the greater the chaos outside, the greater the calling to go within.
Within.
Because it is only by going within that we are going to understand what our calling purpose at this moment in time is. And by the way, it doesn't always have to do with what we do for a living.
Right.
It's how do I want to show up? How do I reclaim my ability to think for myself, to see for myself, to speak my truth because of what we said a few moments ago, where some of these conversations are not being had,
Yeah.
right? Like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is a way of, is a revolution.
Yeah.
So there is, for me, the summer has been so much about digesting all of that and being like, no, I want to be here. Like, I want to see this. I want to feel this. It has not been easy. It has, I've spent a lot of time alone. I've spent a lot of time wondering, okay, how does my work really support
Mm-hmm.
a moment in time like this?
Yeah.
Right. So it's been, it's been a lot. Even as I'm talking about it, I'm getting a little choked up because
Yeah.
it's been a lot. It's literally been downstairs
Well, it's at the front
feeling
door. Yeah.
everything. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm really grateful for the personal window in. I think for me too, I have found like intuitively that I have been going inward. And it is like, it's like the more chaos there is in the, you know, in the media, on these social platforms, all of that, it's almost like it's become, in order to feel here, understand what's mine, and kind of keep that clarity of what belongs to me and what belongs, it's coming from another source,
Hmm.
um, that I've found that I've done that even more so than I have in the past. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to what I'm about to say, but I feel like sometimes I have this level of this wave of guilt that comes over me for feeling like, oh, I've cocooned, like I'm keeping myself, um, you know, protected from the noise, from the chaos. But to have this, I think, connection to individuals who are experiencing it in real time, to be able to hold that space and open up my heart to compassion and, you know, energetically support people in that way, and recognize, okay, I can bring that into my tiny, I know we've talked about this before, but my tiny interactions on my day-to-day basis here where I am, wherever my feet are planted in that moment, just feels even more important, um, as things continue to heat up.
Mhm.
Yeah. I just saw something on Instagram yesterday that said, um, the revolution will not be televised, but the fear will.
Mm.
So good.
Right.
Mhm.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that occurred to me, I think over the last couple of weeks too, is, you know, there's this narrative that goes around that to choose love or to choose love and light is to bypass. And
Yeah.
to me, that seems like such utter bullshit because the practice of spirituality is choosing love and love over and over and over again.
Right.
Yes.
Right? Not because you're ignoring what's happening, but because you understand, fuck, this is hard. This
Yeah.
is real.
Yeah.
So, how do I not become consumed by this, lose myself, my light, and who I know
Yeah.
myself to be in all of this, because that is my contribution,
Right.
Yes.
Amen.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
to not be defined by that, because again, it's not that is the revolution. That's not what's being televised, but the fear is.
The fear
So, you're
Yes.
telling me that if I define my existence by the fear that I'm being given right now, that I'm somehow not bypassing? Get
Yeah.
Get out
like
of here with that. Get out of here with that.
Get out of here.
I love that.
Well, something that's been really clear to me is the level of self-harm we do to ourselves. Like when we think of self-harm, like we can think of like cutting or addictive behaviors and things like that. But I feel like we need to expand what self-harm looks like. And I've noticed that when we turn towards fear and we become obsessed with it and we let ourselves be taken over by disconnection and chaos, we might as well be adding little cuts to our energetic space. And I've also noticed that when we turn on self-doubt, or we turn on ourselves, or when we're standing in front of another person and we let them dissuade us from who we actually really are or who we believe ourselves to be, and we start hurting ourselves by the narratives or their self-talk, like we're doing self-harm. Like we really need to understand what self-harm is and take responsibility for how we're harming our bodies, our energetic space, our hearts. And I notice in clients, like the way they talk to themselves, I've said to them, like, that is self-harm. And if they're like eyes open and they're like, I never thought of like those, or the way they're holding themselves through these fearful times. Three things that became really clear to me this summer, and we use the word radical a lot. You hear it around. But what I really feel like we're being asked of radical self-love, radical self-trust, and radical honesty with self. And they all go together because you can't really love yourself if you don't trust yourself and if you're not being honest with yourself. And that means being honest about the behaviors. Am I clear on what I'm doing, what I'm ingesting, how I'm caring for myself, the relationships I'm in, the work I'm doing, how I'm moving through the world? Am I really being honest with myself that, or am I making excuses, or am I taking care of other people? Am I trusting myself to make decisions? Am I trusting myself to lead the life I want to live? Am I trusting my intuition, my soul? And there's a big difference between wanting an outcome and thinking from the mind versus really surrendering to your intuition and your soul's guidance and trusting that you will be guided and led. And I really feel like if you don't have self-trust and honesty with yourself, like you can't have this kind of love, because it's a relationship with self, requires vulnerability and intimacy, trust to have a deep relationship with someone else. And that's what it requires with self. So I've just been thinking a lot about the shadow being excavated of like how we can think we're loving ourselves, but we're lying to ourselves. We're tolerating things. If we're really loving ourselves, why would we stand in chaos and fear and expose ourselves to it like 500 times a day? Like,
Right.
honestly, like, why would we engage in behaviors that continue to harm us? Like,
Yeah.
so I'm curious what y'all think about those. They've just been like, bing, bing, bing.
They're the
My,
marquee lights of the summer. I love that. I think that's so succinctly put, Ash. And I've been feeling those things, um, and maybe hadn't had the words for that
mm,
lived experience. But those three components are, yeah, essential. And it's one thing to talk about, like you said, talk about self-love, a whole other thing to embody it. And that is from that like catching the thought, changing the behavior,
mm,
and then walking through the world in a new way of being. Um,
mm,
and I think it's incremental. But when you, like, as you brought awareness to those three themes, it's like, oh, that's much more tangible to bring forward and embody.
Well, it was a reckoning inside me all summer. It was like, oh, I'm not being honest about this. I'm saying I trust, but I'm really not, and I would wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and I'm wired towards fear or self doubt. And I remember just being like, it would be like 3 o'clock in the morning. I love you. Like that was the thing I chose to say to myself, like in the middle of the night over and over again, in spite of the way my mind is wired, in spite of my history, in spite of all the patterns. I was like, I'm not going to do this to myself, because all of those like fearful thoughts or the ways I turn on myself, like they're harmful. So I speak to this because I went through my own reckoning and my own like having to face like the ways I harm myself for no
Yeah.
reason.
I love that word reckoning because I think that's what I have witnessed um, and experienced as well. like this reckoning of, I think in the beginning of the year, or even just last eclipse season, March or April, we thought again that we could continue, consciously or unconsciously, right? That we could continue with these same patterns. And what I noticed, over the summer, and it happening so quickly, it like I noticed like a an increase in pace, if you will,
Mm.
during the Mercury retrograde in Leo that took place in August and then took us into September. Like just this switch in people being like, I have to accept what I'm seeing. Like
Mm.
this is what it is, and within myself and within another, with what this relationship actually is. And so there being a lot of ruptures in relationships of different types, and because our soul is not like, the collective awakening is no longer allowing us, our soul is no longer allowing us to stay in that, like we cannot. So when I think of Aquarius energy, this is really our understanding about how much our very unique personal experience affects the collective blanket, the
Mm.
collective thread,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That is what Aquarius is really about. It's like a lot of times it's described as, oh, like, it's the unique qualities in us. Yeah, but at a soul level, at a personal level, it explains our very unique experience, how we're being very honest about it, because we understand that that affects the collective. And we
Mm.
don't have to have that awareness all the time of, the decisions I make affect the collective. I don't know how we would get anything done if that's all the time. But there is this reckoning of radical personal responsibility, which is Saturn and Aries. And I
Mm.
remember talking about that in one of my YouTube videos, and people didn't like it. And I
Oh,
anticipated that they wouldn't, because it calls personal responsibility to yourself. Like, at this
they didn't
point, it's
like
not so
it?
much, some people had something to say about it.
Wow.
So
Curious.
it's at this point, it's not so much about, what did that person do to me.
Right.
It's, how did I choose to be here,
Yeah.
because they may have had a certain behavior, that experience may have been what it was, and yet there's personal responsibility in saying, I've chosen to be here, why, or would I chose that person from what place of myself, or you know so it's really
Mm.
interesting.
It's so interesting. And a couple things are coming up for me as
Yeah.
you expand upon what Ash had said. We often hear this phrase of like love your neighbor as thyself, and how little until now, until this moment, until you know, it's like how often are we actually loving ourselves? This is why the world is as chaotic as it is. We
Yes.
have this self-loathing that we walk around in and then project
Yes.
into the others. Like love than it should be. And I think what I am so grateful for our collective, the three of us, and I know this extends beyond to other beautiful beings in our individual lives, but like through I've found love for self through the reflections, honest and clean reflections of the love I've received from others,
Mm.
you know, and how this is like this symbiotic thing that as you're naming this, it's like, oh, if we truly turn our energy and effort, turn that back to that self responsibility, consciously choose to love from within, is impacting this ripple of others. Like the love for
Mm.
other naturally is an extension of love for self. And
Mm.
even in the relationship ruptures, we have this awakening, we have this awareness like, oh, I've 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 subscribed to this pattern. I've chosen to be here for as long as I've chosen to be here. And
Yes.
that's not healthy for me and it's not healthy for them. And so even though it may feel there may be in that severance there's often grief that comes up, there's sadness, depending on the context of the relationship, but it's like in choosing self, in choosing to break the cycle, there is freedom on both for both parties, and then freedom that ripples out beyond for the collective, as you said. And that, wow, that just clicked in a whole new way. So thank you both.
Thank you for expanding on that. I think an important question is like, a lot of times people will say like, I love myself. I think I'm awesome. And I'm like, but do you love yourself when other people are watching and other people have opinions about you and other people are holding up mirrors that don't reflect that? And that's where we need to be unwavering in our self-love. That's when our question is really answered, because I'm really good at loving myself when I'm on my own. But when someone might challenge, um,
Totally.
that self-love, that's where I can get a little squeamish, and I'm like, no, hey.
Mm-hmm.
And when my brain comes in and it wants to be like, what about this? What about that? What about that? Even in the face of my own ego and mind that loves to just,
That was so
that's when I
good
have
at
to be unwavering in my self-love, so.
Yeah. Again, the practice of love.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tag
But
live.
yeah, so I think another thing that I've noticed with Jupiter in Cancer, for instance, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, but also the planet of learning, the planet of the philosopher. Um, that the way that we experience Jupiter in our personal lives is what creates the philosophy of our lives, the lens from which we see
Mm-hmm.
the world through, right? So, but Jupiter in Cancer is, how has your family of origin, ancestry, mother, all of the Cancerian things shaped your Jupiter philosophy on life, shaped
Mm.
the knowledge, the wisdom that you have acquired throughout your life, because that's what Jupiter represents. It's the energy that needs to experience life to create some sort of, to make some sense out of it. And
Mm.
so again, a lot of like inner child stuff has come up for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And the question of, how am I continuing to perpetuate
Mm.
certain patterns, certain belief systems, and that and seeing people just create healthy distance
Mm-hmm.
with family in particular has been, wow. It's like finally a lot of the things that so many people have been working through, they're finally taking action on it in a way that they never have before. Again, that's the power of a year like 2025. It's undeniable. It's
Yeah.
undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I love that.
Wonderful. So one thing I've been kind of reflecting upon is this theme that actually drew us all together, which is finding the magic in the mundane. Thanks to Ashley's post 3 years ago, offering a class on that very theme, we are now sitting together creating and sharing a podcast, which is amazing. Um, but I have started to capture in my journal like these moments of magic more regularly. And I found a lot of that a lot more as I was more present and had more spaciousness over the summer. I was doing a better job of it. Um, but there's a lot of little things, and then there's been some big manifestation magical moments. And so I thought it'd be really fun to go around the table, so to speak, and share some of those if you gals are up for it.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't mind starting, but one of the things, a theme for me in 2025 um, was landing. Like that's my guiding word of the year. I took on a new apartment at the start of the year, and as I was like rebuilding my financial foundation and my business as a solopreneur, it took a lot longer than I had originally thought it would to kind of finally feel settled in my space. And one of the things I did during my time at the lake was I spent like 5 minutes every morning on Facebook Marketplace, like liking couches, like finding the vibe and starting to get into the energy of love for a new couch. There was a lot of furniture that no longer fit. It felt like a real long period of finally like feeling settled. And the timing and the price on a couch came to fruition just as I was returning to Rhode Island after being in Maine. And it felt very magical. Like there were multiple levels of uh like surprise and celebration within that one moment because I landed on something I absolutely love. It was at a price point that was half of what I thought I was going to pay in order to get this thing that I like love. And then the synchronicity of how it got delivered to me. Like there was so many tiny, tiny magical moments within that. And as soon as it was delivered to my home, it was like instant transformation. It has up leveled my mood every single day. I've never been in love with an object before, ever, until now. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I'm going with it. Like, how was your summer? What, how's your love life? My love life is a new couch. Like, I love
A new couch, though, is
not
good
ashamed to
couch.
say
A
it.
good couch.
No, it's a good couch. It's the perfect size. It's beautiful comfort. It's such a rich color. And I'm like, I look at it lovingly every day from where I work. I rarely sit on it. I've gotten more into sitting on it. But there's just like these tiny little moments. And I think when we each really practice this and embody it in our everyday lives, but like emphasis on the magic in the mundane, like that's like a key highlight moment for me. And then everything else fell into place. It was like that one fixture got brought in, and then the rest that I was sort of like, oh, where are these items going to go? It just like instantly all came together within like 3-4 days, and I had been months sitting on it. So
Amazing.
This is so fun. I love those examples.
Yeah, I love a good couch.
What do you
Yeah.
got, Scott?
I am almost done with my book proposal. This is something that I have been thinking about, going back and forth with, really feeling into what kind of book I want to write. And I think I finally landed on it this year. And so yeah, it's like 80% done. I need to do like the very last portion of the proposal. And I I think one of the reasons it took me so long is because I didn't want to write just another astrology book, not just another like basics of astrology. It's no, that's there's so many books that are like that, so many good books that are like that. I'm like, that's not what I want to do. So it has taken me a while to land. I won't share just yet, but um, it's definitely more soulful. I think what I'm aiming for is for something to be touched in people through astrology. So yeah, that's what finally came through.
That's
It's been
amazing.
a long time coming.
That's
I
really
love
amazing.
that. I cannot wait till it's finished or just along the way. Can't wait to see what's in process. It's going to be such a gift. Such a gift.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So excited.
So I also had something magical happen, and it started with a book proposal. I feel like last Eclipse season, I finished my book proposal, um, and I submitted it. And while people liked it, they didn't want it because I don't have a platform. And I made all these plans that I was going to build a platform. And then I moved to Costa Rica, and I was like, nope. Don't want to do it. Don't want to build a platform. Never wanted to build a platform. I'm going to teach myself to draw, and I'm going to surf, and I'm going to write, and I'm just going to write my book my way. And so I also decided I was going to get off social media. And that was just a promise I made to myself to stop. This was one of those places I felt like it was self harm. I was saying that I should do something that my body and heart and soul do not want to do. So I got off social media. And I'm sharing this story because, like, Spirit is so incredible and magical, and the spectrum of magical things that can happen continuously surprise me, even though I believe in this practice all the time. But about 2 weeks after I got off social media, Lara and I got an email that we were invited to speak at the In Bloom Summit, which is a love and relationship summit hosted by Real Love Ready. And it's a pretty big deal. Like, big names have been there. Gabor Mate, Esther Perel, like Danae Logan, like lots of people that are in the healing and therapeutic space have been there. So this felt like, wait, what? Like, I just felt like Spirit was like, yeah, see what happens when you honor yourself? Like, you can do this and you can be invited to this. And then a few weeks after that, we found out the lineup. And I just have to say, I'm so excited that headlining is Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach. Totally fangirling on this. I'm so excited. Dr. Shafali, um, Alexander Solomon, Francesca Hoagie, and Frank Anderson, and me and my husband will be there speaking in April. And my lovely partners are coming to celebrate with me, along with several other people that are coming. So if you are a listener and you want to have a good time, April 10th through 12th in Vancouver, Canada. But I'm so excited, but I also just want to reiterate that when you honor your path, when you trust yourself, it took radical self-trust for me to let go of building a platform, to believe that, I'm just going to write my book my way, or if there's an audience for me that will help me and it's supposed to be there, you just never know what can happen. You just never know who's paying attention. You never know what your soul has lined up for you. You just never know. So those of you with small platforms, stuff happens. I just want you to know. 1,700, baby, on my followers.
So great.
It can happen. Yeah, and I've heard from people in the industry that this stuff is changing. People want to hear other voices. It's like there are just people that just don't have the time or energy for this, and that's okay. And then there's the
Yeah.
beautiful people that do have the energy to build a platform, and what a gift. But things are changing, so all those that are doing it their own way, I'm celebrating you, and just trust yourself.
Exactly. Oh,
Beautiful. So beautiful.
beautiful.
That has
I'm
me
so
so
excited.
hyped up. I'm so excited. I can't wait to be in physical connection with each of you, to celebrate you and just, yeah, kind of immerse ourselves in the entire experience. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait to see you guys up there. That's gonna,
Thanks.
And you're like,
yeah,
No pressure.
really.
no pressure.
No pressure.
So lovely. Well, I thought it would be really interesting to introduce a new way of closing out our conversation today. And given that the thread of what emerged here has been emphasis on connection with self for the greater good of all, to tap into our intuition and just see what if a collective message would like to come through as we close out. How does that feel?
It's great.
Great.
Okay. I'm going to just take a minute to get quiet and see what imagery or messages want to come through, drawing on the energy we felt through Ashley's beautiful guided intuitive reset at the start of our conversation today. Revisiting that light that lives within each of us and that is part of something greater that we can't always see, but we can sense and feel. The imagery I'm getting is of a painting, of a canvas that is being painted by individual brushstrokes. And some are utilizing the paint to splat it on. Others are, I see like different hands coming in to build this massive canvas. And these beautiful, vibrant colors and different textures and weights of the paint sticking to the canvas. And as I sit with that imagery and almost like zoom out, yeah, it's kaleidoscopic. it's it seems to be continuing to change in its form. Canvas is still present, but the combination of paints is shifting, and each new uh, slide is as beautiful as the next. And it's like the more people catching on, like more and more hands are joining in this joint um, painting. Ooh, it's making me emotional. The collective efforts to regenerate something beautiful, and that each individual's contribution enriches the whole. And as new hands come in, the like that mosaic shifts and changes, um, and almost invites more people to add to it, like a mural seen across the planet. Mm, yeah, feels like there's an emphasis on that message to do it our own way and gleefully know that that's contributing to the whole.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patsy, for such a beautiful transmission. It's so needed. It's received, and may it land as it needs to. For those that are listening, it's such a pleasure to be back and seeing where these conversations take us, especially as we continue to move through, again, a year like 2025. For those that might be interested, I invite you to pick up the Eclipse guide for the September October eclipse season, because even though both eclipses take place in September, the energy and the lessons around the eclipses extend out to October. So I invite you to pick up my eclipse guide at astroconsciousness.com. I give you extended lessons, a workbook, guided meditations that I think can help bring all of this together, help make sense out of all of this. Um, and yeah, it can hopefully put some words to some experiences.
Mm.
Do either of you ladies have anything to share? Any offerings that you're currently having?
I don't have a specific offering other than, if you're interested or feel called to work with a guide as you bring your work into the world, into a greater place of visibility, need a sounding board for ideas and how to weave your message more clearly to reach your audience. I have openings on my calendar on Mondays to have discovery calls. So if you're interested in learning more about what that might look like to work together, please visit my website. It's patsykenny.com. And that'll be in the show notes.
And I continue to offer readings and intuitive mentorship. So if you're interested in either of those, you can check out my website, ashleytorrent.com. And again, if you want to buy tickets to the event, check out at Real Love Ready on Instagram or their website. And they also have a podcast. So yeah, love to see you there.
All right. Amazing. Thank you both so
Thank you.
much. Thank you, everyone who's listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. If something stirred your soul or made you smile, share it with a friend or leave us a review. Until next time.